Hello and welcome to another episode of the Contractor Growth Show. My name is Mark. Today I have interesting guest, Disaster Dawn, which is Dawn Marie Forest Callahan from SkyWater on call in Largo, Florida. Dawn, thanks for being on today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very cool. So we've taken a look at SkyWater and what you guys are up to. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about just the history of the business and what you guys are up to these days.
Sure. Well, SkyWater on Call was established in 2022 by myself and my husband, Mark Callahan. It was after 22 years in the business and my husband kind of going into a retirement. He was 30 years a lieutenant in St. Petersburg Fire Department. And him and his family are big entrepreneurs, and he's owned just companies in the past. So he started really kind of talking about it in 2020. I had transitioned to another company in more of a director role, and he had gone on a couple jobs with me and found it to not be rocket science to do. And so he started talking about wanting to, open a company with me at the, when he did retire, and whenever he was ready to pull that trigger, we decided in 2022 to go ahead and open our own company. So I was ready but nervous, but obviously my client base of 20 years was, a nice added bonus to start a company because I did have the relationships. We did it very organically, unlike most restoration companies. Most of the time you need $1 million in the bank just to open the doors. Majority, if not all, restoration companies start with the insurance program work, where I'm more of an anomaly. 22 years ago, when I was hired with Bay Area, actually it was called PLA Construction at the time, they specifically hired me to chase water and to strictly market the end user. And I was mentored by another DKI member called Fire Services. So I was very fortunate because I never had to deal with the insurance company or adjusters or third-party TPAs.
Okay.
So I found that to be the only way I've ever known how to do it. So whenever my husband and I decided to start our own company, I immediately reached out to my clients of 20 plus years that had traveled or followed me along with the different companies that I had worked for over the years. And to our surprise, they immediately were willing to give us a shot. So it was a huge blessing to have their support. So without my client base of 20 plus years, I'm not sure we would have been able to open the doors. But we were, and we don't have any investors. We invested all of it with our own money. So it's kind of exciting. And recently, after a couple of years, we transitioned. So I'm 51% owner, and we just got state certified women owned, as well as government, national and federal women owned as well. So still learning a lot about that. It's all new to me. But the main blessing is that we are able to assist all of our customers in the commercial market. So I strictly work with commercial. I don't do residential work. Now, during Helene, unfortunately, we were hit with a 100-year flood in our area. And at that time, we did engage and help some residential homes through a client of ours who had asked us to assist their executives. And then after that, Milton hit right in our backyard, and all of our MSAs, master service agreements with our commercial clients, kicked in. So we've been quite busy, to say the least.
Yeah. Really.
And we too were impacted. We have a home on Madeira Beach, so we got about 4 feet of water. And so
Wow.
I guess there was a silver lining to owning your own restoration company, even though it took my company 8 days to get to my house.
Oh no.
Customers have priority.
Boy. All right. I can see you put your.
I had to pitch it to my owner, to my partner.
But, that's great.
And we have, it's been great. But yeah, so we've been pretty much just working nonstop since Debbie hit in August and assisting our commercial clients. So we're very fortunate.
Amazing. And do you guys have a backlog of work with? With all
we have a backlog for quite a while, and probably for a couple of years with what's going on in this area. But yeah, currently we have large jobs that we're working, trying to just keep moving along, trying to get it done as quickly as we can. Unfortunately, with storm damage related losses, being flood and FEMA, you do have to pull permitting for typical remediation, mitigation, if you will, jobs you would normally not have to pull a permit. So, not frustrated with it, just feel bad for the residents that we are working with, because we are working with some condominiums So we have some large projects that we're working, which entails residential unit owners, right, condominium owners. So just,
Okay.
that's kind of a little sad that it can go a little quicker, but I guess the counties can only do so much for the cities.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So just regarding kind of your whole service that you offer, I saw here on your site, in commercial properties, pipes burst, flooding, the M word, mold, I assume, fire and smoke damage, disasters occur all the time. And the aftermath can be devastating in terms of property damage, business interruption, and loss of customers or staff. You never know when these disasters can occur, the impact it can have on your business, tenants, residents, or staff. But you can take the steps to ensure a faster and more effective recovery if the unthinkable happens. And so disasters on, as your clients and friends affectionately refer to, offer, you help offer restoration with a woman's touch. So you guys work strictly with commercial clients, you said, at this point.
Yes. We have done some residential homes, but yeah, we strictly work with commercial. Just a
Okay.
lot more enjoyable.
Oh, is that right?
Insurance work for sure.
Why is it more enjoyable doing commercial work than a residential? You said insurance.
Well, insurance, if you're on a program, you have to pay them a percent, and you use Xactimate, and there's a lot of things they don't cover. They don't always like to do it, in my opinion, the proper way. It's more emotional when you're dealing with a residential homeowner than you would commercial. Commercial, you have a master service agreement signed, you have time and materials, so your prices are already established ahead of time. And whenever they have a loss, they want to get it done quickly and correctly. And the biggest challenge is just making sure you invoice them quick enough. So it's something I've done for 20 plus years. So much more, obviously it's what I'm used to, but much more, like I said, less emotionally involved than a residential home. When you work with condos, it's obviously residential. We're engaged typically through the association. We do work with the carrier, but just the way that we like to do things, we follow the IICRC standard. We do things correctly. We are not going to cut corners in any way. And a lot of times the insurance company don't want to pay for things that they should. They're trying to negotiate after you've already done the work. And just grateful that I never had to deal with that as a
Yeah, right. What a pain.
nor that we have to rely on that for our day-to-day business. So most restoration companies you talk to just dream about getting into commercial because they start off in residential. Now, of course, program work will keep the doors open, but fortunately for us, we have other divisions in our company, so we're able to get day-to-day work still outside, to where we don't have to rely on insurance programs to keep those lights on.
Okay. What are those other services or other programs you guys offer?
Well, we'll do any type of build outs for our commercial clients or any type of drywall repairs that they might need. Doesn't matter how small or large, we are a full service general contractor. We also offer carpet cleaning and interior painting.
Okay. Interesting. So what are the most common types of disasters, in your area that require your restoration services? Flooding or?
Typically it's water losses as well as mold remediation would probably be the top two. And then you have seasonal things like hurricane season where you may have a wind-driven event or a flood like what happened with Helene. But typically it's mold remediation or water losses.
Okay. All right. Great. And then, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys typically face on a restoration project?
Challenges. Obviously, making sure that, conveying to the client exactly what needs to be done and making sure they have the correct information from us to present to their ownership or to their tenants, because a lot of times people don't want to do the right thing or, they don't really understand. Sometimes the challenge is making sure people understand the laws. Like, for example, in our county and in Pinellas and Hillsborough County, you have to pull asbestos tests. You can't start any demo until the asbestos test is complete, or you can get fined up to $10,000 a day. And a lot of people are not aware of that. They think, oh, well, the building was built after this date, it's fine. That's not the case. Oh, I just built the house yesterday. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
so
right. No kidding, huh?
Just trying to educate people, whether they're experienced property managers of 20 plus years that are arguing with you, or even someone who has no idea. But that does delay, right, moving forward with the job. So whenever Helene hit, we couldn't do any demo until we had an asbestos test done. And of course, people want action right away. So fortunately for us, we have a really good relationship with a company, industrial hygienist company. So they were pretty much at our beck and call to a degree. I mean, obviously they were very busy, but they had a good system in place. So we were able to kind of get that ball rolling pretty quickly, but you still have to wait or they will fine you and you can go to jail. So that's kind of challenging, just educating people on that.
Interesting. Okay. And you said you guys are time and materials, or you guys are always time and materials, or do you ever have to bid projects?
Sometimes we'll bid projects, and sometimes we do use Xactimate. So it's not always time and materials. It's only if we have that, it just depends on the project. But majority of the time with commercial, it is time and materials. Obviously, with reconstruction, it's a little different.
Okay. And did you say Xactimate?
Yeah, Xactimate. If we are dealing with a condominium, for example, and it is going to go through insurance, they still sign our time and materials, but like we're working 2 large projects from Helene through FEMA, and we are utilizing Xactimate. That's the insurance software system that they require the contractors to use, or encourage you to use, like almost demand you to use.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And have you seen over the years, you've been at this for a long time, have you seen that the disaster recovery industry has evolved over the years, and how has that been? How has it changed?
I think it's evolved over the years as far as just from the beginning. When I started probably 20 plus years ago, it was more just come in and tear everything out, where, it is a scientific method to drying, and the goal is to do as minimal damage as possible, even though people feel like we come in and we just want to tear everything out. But also the technology has advanced quite a bit since 20 plus years ago. I think the means of where you get your work has evolved a lot from 20 plus years ago. I think the end users are more involved, taking a more proactive approach than just waiting on insurance companies or just waiting till something happens.
Okay. Interesting. And then, Dawn, what's the size of you guys' team right now?
We have 12 team members, and then within the 12 team members, they usually have about 2 to 3 subcontractors that would work with them as far as labor companies. So right now we have a lot because of our projects being so large, but it all depends on the workflow. But as far as SkyWater employees, we have 12 team members total. 13, I'm sorry.
Okay, 13. And then you say each one of those has 2 or 3 subs that work with them?
Yeah, hold on, I'm counting. Yeah, 13. Of the 13, though, you have 7 of them that would have team members, subcontractors with them, like labor.
Okay. Great. And then, our listeners in many cases are struggling with sort of recruiting and retaining team. Seems like it's just a kind of an industry-wide trades kind of issue these days. Finding people that are motivated to learn your systems, to jump on the career path that you're offering for them, and then stay with you guys for years until they actually produce. Get past that sort of 3 or 6 month kind of training period where they actually start to create revenue profit for you guys. What are some of your secrets to sort of finding, recruiting, and retaining team?
Well, we have been working with a recruiting company. We haven't actually hired anyone through them yet, but we are looking for like an operation manager and an estimator. But a lot of our team members came through either word of mouth or referrals from employees that currently work with us. One in particular actually was someone I had worked with before at a previous company. And I kept telling my business partner husband for 6 months that I need a Ramon. And then out of the blue, because people will call me, because in restoration, like we all like talk to each other. So a lot of guys that I've worked with in the past would reach out and be like, hey, are you hiring? Do you know anyone who's hiring? And this particular individual had called, and I was like, no, I'm not hiring for that position, but I need a Ramon. And he's like, I have his number. And so ironically, I was able to hire him. So
no way. Oh, that's fantastic.
He's like my man. So, and then my other team members are young gentlemen, my son and another gentleman that we were able to hire after we had subcontracted with him through a temp labor, and he's one of my best team members. Well, they're all awesome. I really couldn't categorize one above the other. But as a young gentleman, I'm very impressed with him, very much have initiative. I'm willing to work the hours that are required. This is not really a normal general contractor remodel type of profession. You're more like an extension of a first responder, because typically you're the first one on the scene after the fire department leaves. And the hours that are involved are quite extensive, and it's very impactful on your family, because you're working nights, weekends, you're working whenever you need to. And since Helene hit, they pretty much worked nonstop. I mean, we are demanding everyone take off on Thanksgiving. So, and then another, again, my friends, referring friends that come on board. And fortunately, so far it's working. We do have a lot of family members that work with us, but so far so good, because a lot of times people say, is there a challenge with that? But I think we are practicing pretty good boundaries regarding it. But what's really nice is that right now we have a really good synergy with our team, I believe. They all want to learn and they want to grow. And a lot of them have self-initiative, which in this industry I think you need to have, because you really have to want it, because it's not the most enjoyable thing to be out there in the heat, doing what you need to do within any type of commercial structure, with mold remediation. And it is a very specialized field. You're not just cleaning and carpet cleaning. You have to, there's a scientific method to it. When you are dealing with mold, you have to be very mindful of what you're doing and practice all the protocols, which we do. But it's really hard. As far as hiring, we just need to find the time to sit down and interview people, to hire them and spend time with them, because I'll find someone that my husband's like, let's hire, let's interview more people than just one person. And then next thing you know, 2 weeks have gone by and we haven't even had that time. But that's simply because we're kind of in peak season with, the 2 catastrophic natural disasters that hit our area.
Wild.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, it's an extreme sort of business. This is not in any way a typical sort of general contracting operation, obviously, but the more you talk about it, the more I realize, wow, this is a really kind of a specialized field, huh?
Oh, for sure. No, definitely. And you have a lot of, things you need to be careful about. You're making sure you're wearing PPE gear and making sure you're documenting everything. So if your client needs to turn that into the insurance company, that you have to prove everything you're doing. You can't just be like, oh, I just did all this for $100,000. So we utilize a software system currently called Encircle. Can never have too many pictures. You're basically telling a story every day. But it can be challenging, because people, the first day you arrive, you're their best friend.
Oh, right.
You're getting it stable, and then 3 weeks later they're trying to get it rebuilt, and you're trying to get approval from the ownership, and delays happen, and
man, no kidding.
With this person, or supplies, you're 2 weeks out on code base, and they're wondering why it's not put up. So a little bit of you're the saving grace, and then by the end it's just kind of. They're still grateful for you, but they're just kind of anxious to get back to normal, because it wasn't like a planned situation.
Right. You were the hero with the first day, but then a month later, this unexpected remodel project that's happening in their living room they didn't want to have happen. Yeah,
exactly. My house had to be completely gutted for the most part, and everyone's like, "Oh, you must be so excited! You get to remodel and all this." I'm like, "Well, I wasn't really planning to. It wasn't really on my schedule."
Right. I wasn't going to do that this winter.
Yeah.
Right. Wild. Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, Dawn, this is great. It's just great to learn about the business, learn about SkyWater on call. It sounds like you guys are absolutely on call. Your website is great too. I took a look at that, and I love, I talk about this a lot on the show, but just, I love to see companies that get it and just sort of understand that they need to have a front-facing website that looks good and really attracts people and doesn't distract. And you guys have got a really nice site and really shows you're offering well what you guys do. So if you guys want to take a look at that, the website is SkyWaterOnCall.com, just like it sounds. And Dawn, if folks want to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about the business, or certainly hire you guys, I think you've got your hands full for a little bit, but how's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can either reach us at 877-219-2900, or even, I think that's the number. Let me make sure. It's one of those days. Sure. Or they can even reach out at info@SkyWater on Call. That goes directly to me. We also have social media. where you can go onto our LinkedIn page, Facebook, or Instagram. And then obviously, sorry, yeah, like I said, it's quite busy. Yep. Do I have the number? Sorry.
No problem. Sure. Take your time.
877-214-2900 is the best way to get a hold of us, or even on our social media.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and a lot of great photos, a lot of nice up-to-date stuff of the work that you guys are doing. Well, fantastic, Dawn. Thank you for taking the time today to teach our listeners some more about the restoration business and the history of SkyWater. And we will stay in touch. We'd love to talk with you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
Okay.